Hi folks, this video is going to take you through the process that I used to map out the heliocentric Sun-Earth-Moon relationship in AutoCAD to the exact scale. My ultimate goal was to verify if the eclipse dates and locations and where the bodies are in space actually match and actually do work. So I was meticulous in the data collection and the drawing side of it, and I'm going to be equally as meticulous taking you through the steps that I went through. So here goes. The data I'm going to be using then for all distances and angles will be derived from the Jet Propulsion Laboratory website, which is an offshoot of NASA. They make all the rockets and probes. They design the guidance systems. So I would say that it's a pretty safe bet that these people should be the ones to give us the information. So this web interface here on the website seems like the perfect place to derive the information from. It's straight from the horse's mouth, I guess. So what this web interface can do is generate tables of information based on what you put into here. So let's go through a worked example. So the ephemeris type is always set to observer because you want to know the distance and the angles from an observer. The target body you can change. At the minute it's the sun. The observer location you can change. Currently I've got it set at 0 degrees east, 51 degrees 30 minutes north, which is smack bang in central London. You can change this to some predefined cities in this section, or you can scroll down and you can put exact longitudes and latitudes in, or you can put up a lookup in here, type something in, and it tells you to use geocentric or code 500 for geocentric. So if I type in 500 there, search, it's put the observer location now at geocentric, which is the center of any body. So in this case it's the center of Earth. Then you can put a time span in here, so you can change it, and you can put a start time in, which is actually a date. So you can put a stop time in, so that's the 2nd of January 2016 to the 3rd of January 2016, and you can set it to increment the measurements in days, hours, minutes. I choose minutes because I want to know the exact angle and distance to a body to the minute, and that will give me sort of every single minute between the 2nd and the 3rd of March. So if I use them specified times, I can then go to this one called table settings, and this is where you set what it is you actually want it to tell you. So I have number 4 checked, which is apparent azimuth and elevation, and number 20, which is observer range and range rate. So this will give you the azimuth and elevation to the body that you're measuring to, and this will give you the distance. It says it's got this little star next to the number 4. If you go down here, it says affected by optional atmospheric refraction setting below. So down here you can go refraction model, and you can set it to either standard atmosphere refraction model or airless model, no refraction. So in my data collection I'm using both. I'm checking with one and then checking with the other. So let's select that. And then finally we've got display output, so you can either save it, get it to download a text file with the information on, or you can set it to display on the screen. So I'm just going to get it to display on the screen just here. And if I go generate ephemeris, it then gives me this data. So remember, it was the 2nd of January, so it starts at time 00, and it gives you every distance which is this column here, all the way up to, scroll right down to the bottom, it actually gives you it to the 3rd of January at 00. So it gives you all these distances. So this is the geocentric distance from the Sun to the Earth. It hasn't put azimuth and elevation in here because it's geocentric, and obviously there won't be any angles involved if you're measuring from the centre of the Earth. If I was to go back and put in, let's go back up to the top, and put in, instead of it being geocentric, and I put in a longitude of 0 and a latitude of 51.5, which is in the centre of London. If I use them coordinates, then I generate the ephemeris. You can see it's now putting all the angles. So this would be the azimuth, and this would be the elevation. The minus means that it's below the horizon, so it's night time. So this is where I'm deriving the majority of the information on distances and angles to various bodies. There is another NASA web page that I'm deriving some more data from, and that's the NASA Earth Facts datasheet, which is just here. And what I'm getting from this page is the obliquity to the orbit and the inclination of the equator, which is the tilt of the Earth at 23.44 degrees. So that's the angle that I'm using for the tilt, and the orbital eccentricity value here, which is 0.01671022. And I'll explain where I'm using that shortly. So moving forward to the modelling side of this, all distances are going to be kilometres, all angles will be decimal degrees, and this is the sort of model that I'm going to be taking you through. So you've got the Sun in the centre, you've got the Earth at various locations throughout the year on its elliptical orbit. And this here, the periapsis, or otherwise known as the perihelion, occurs around the 2nd to 3rd of January, and this is the point at which the Earth is closest to the Sun at 147 million kilometres average. Conversely, here you've got the apoapsis, and that is the furthest distance from the Sun, which occurs around the 3rd of July, but can be up to like the 6th of July, and that's an average of 152 million kilometres. Back here you've got the December solstice, the winter solstice, and that at that point the axis of the Earth is perfectly aligned with the Sun, and conversely over at the summer solstice the axis is perfectly in line with the Sun. So knowing this, how do we draw out this shape so that it is exactly matching the data given by NASA? Okay, so the first thing we have to consider is that the Earth position, both at the perihelion here and the aphelion here, occur on different days of the year depending on which year it is, and they get closer and further away. So one complete perfect ellipse does not describe a year. All we can do is do the half year to here. Then from here we have to take on the next half of the year and its orbital path. So it'll sort of start on the same orbital path, then it'll sort of diverge away from this and end up at a different position, maybe further away or closer depending on which year it is. So I'll be considering that and taking that into account whilst modelling. So let's get on to drawing out an elliptical orbit. I'm going to start by explaining some basics of AutoCAD. So I'm going to select the line command, and I'm going to draw a line at 100 units long. So I just type in 100, and it's drawn this line here. And if I click on the line, this box here is the properties box, and it gives me all sorts of information about this line that's selected. And you can see down here it's got its length, and if I scroll around further it's got its angle at 0. So AutoCAD measures angles from left to right. So if I've drawn the line from left to right, it's a 0 degree angle. If I was to draw it from here upwards, it'd be 90, 180, 270 and back to 360 this way. The blue squares that have appeared on the line are called grip points, and I can select a grip point and I can move it. In a minute it's just going up and down, but I can turn off my orthographic setting and it will draw it sort of freehand anywhere. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to click it there, and if you go back to the properties, the length is automatically updated to 260 units long with an angle of 28.7 degrees. So it's gone from this 0 degree up this way, 28.7 degrees. If I draw it down here now, you'll see it's gone to an angle of 330 degrees. So that's starting at 0 in this direction, going all the way around and ending at 330 degrees in that direction. So let me undo that, and we've got our line again of 100 units long. I'm now going to draw another line from the end point of this line, and that's what that little green box that has appeared means. It means that I've selected the end point of that line. I could also select the midpoint or the other end point. So I want to select this side, and I'm going to draw a line in this direction at 150 units long. So now we have a line there and a line there. So I'm going to draw a circle now from the end point of, or the intersection of the two lines there, and that is going to represent the sun. So let's draw that just as a random diameter for now. That's the sun. So this distance here, the shortest distance to the sun, this point would be the perihelion, and this point at this end would be the aphelion. So how are we going to draw this elliptical orbit around the sun? I didn't know how to enter an eccentricity value into AutoCAD at first, so I did a quick Google search, and you can go onto Autodesk, which is the company that own AutoCAD. You can go to their knowledge network, and you can all find out all about the ellipse command on AutoCAD. So you start the command, you use the axis endpoint version of the command, which means you start at one point here and draw the ellipse to the other point, rather than starting at the center. So the distance to the other axis, once you've started the command, would be 0.2. And then you can either select 0.3 and drag your cursor up to 0.3, or type in a distance up to 0.3 from the center, and that will define the sort of semi-minor axis of the ellipse. Or you can type in R for rotation, and this creates an ellipse by appearing to rotate a circle about the first axis. I'll demonstrate what that looks like in a second. So you move the crosshairs around the center of the ellipse and click. If you enter a value, the higher the value, the greater the eccentricity of the ellipse. Entering 0 defines a circular ellipse. So it's telling you here that you can enter the eccentricity value directly into AutoCAD, and it will draw it for you. So let's just see what that looks like. So I'm going to start the ellipse command, and I want to use the axis endpoint version. I'm going to start at the endpoint here, which is the perihelion, other axis endpoint here, which is the aphelion, and now, as you can see, if this version of this particular setting, I can just type in a value and it will move this axis to the value I've typed in, but that's not what I want. AutoCAD says that if you use the rotation value, so I type in R for rotation, it's now saying specify the rotation around the major axis. So this is what they were talking about when they said that it appears as though you're rotating a circle around the first axis. If you look at that, it looks like the circle is being rotated in 3D space. And they said if you enter 0, it will be a perfect circle. But we know from the NASA website that the orbital eccentricity of the Earth around the Sun is 0.01671022. So let's type that in. 0.01671022. Okay. So that is the shape of the orbital path around the Earth, although not drawn quite to scale yet. I'll come to that later. So if we draw now a circle, a perfect circle, and can type in CEN, C-E-N for center, and you can see the green mark has snapped to the center of the circle or the ellipse, and I can start my circle from that point. As you can see, now I can specify a diameter or a radius, or I can click to a quadrant point of an existing object, which is the ellipse here. So if I click to that, and then if we zoom in, you can see that the one is a circle, and I can click on, sorry, that's the ellipse, the first one I clicked on, so it's slightly smaller. You can see up here it tells you it's the ellipse that I've clicked on, and then if I click on the other one, that's the circle. So what you're looking at here is the difference between a circle and the elliptical path of the Earth around the Sun. It's very, very close, and that's exactly what they tell us. It's almost a perfect circle. So now I have the perfect way of drawing the elliptical orbit around the Earth, since they give us the distance here to the kilometre and the distance here to the kilometre. So the next thing we need to know is whereabouts on any given day at any given time the Earth is around this elliptical orbit. So I'm just going to go ahead and delete the circle that we just drew. So it's this one, circle, yeah. And if you remember, we drew this line at 100 and this line at 150. So if we have the distance from the Earth to the Sun at any given time, which we can derive from the tables generated by the NASA web interface, we can determine where on this elliptical orbit the Earth will be. So in order to do that, you simply have to draw a circle from the center of the Sun, and if we do it at a distance between the 100 and the 150, so let's say 135 units, it's drawn a circle there, and all we have to do is connect up the center of the Sun to the intersection point. So AutoCAD's automatically recognized that these two shapes are crossing at this point here. I click there. If I go and select that line that's just been drawn, it gives me the length, and it gives me the angle. Pretty simple. So to find the perihelion for 2016, I just went onto timeanddate.com, and it tells me here that the perihelion on 2016 is on the 2nd of January at 10:48 p.m. It gives you a distance there as well, which is slightly different to the one given on the NASA website, but not by far. So 10:48 p.m. Let's go to Horizon's website. So we've got the observer. We're measuring to the Sun from the center of the Earth on the 2nd of January 2016 to the 3rd of January 2016 in 1 minute increments. And although we don't need it for this particular one, we are getting the azimuth and elevation, and most importantly number 20, which was the distance, and the range units is kilometers. So we're displaying it in HTML format. Yeah. So generate ephemeris. So it's given us 2nd of January 2016. Here's all the times. I'm going to scroll all the way down to 2248, which is here. And as you can see, the distance it's telling us is slightly different to what it was telling us on timeanddate.com, but not by far. But can we verify that this is the perihelion position according to this data? Well, yes, we can, because if you look, all the figures from here start counting down. The distances are counting down. So 48, 48, 47, 46, 45, 44, 45, sorry, 45, 44, 44, 44, and then it starts increasing again. So this is actually the shortest distance. So it's giving us the value in the exponential function format, but that doesn't matter because AutoCAD accepts that directly as data input, so I can just copy that. Let's go to AutoCAD. I've drawn here the sun at a radius of 696,000 kilometers, and I'm going to draw a line now from the center of the sun in this direction, and the distance I'm going to paste into the command line at the bottom here. So you can see there it's pasted the value in, drag it over this way, press enter, and it's drawn this line here, which if we look down at the properties of it, it tells us 147, 100, 181, 44. 147, 100, 181, 44. Okay, we're going to do the same now for the aphelion. So we'll go back to the Horizons website and we'll reset it to the time span. Before we do, let's check what the date it occurs on. So the aphelion for 2016 is on the 4th of July at 5:24 p.m. We have to consider that all aphelion and perihelion times are in local London time. So 5:24 p.m. British summertime is actually 4:24 p.m. in GMT or in universal time. So I have to subtract an hour off here. So 4:24 p.m. So 16:24. So let's go and change that date. So it was July the 4th, and we're going to go to the next day, 7/5, so to July the 5th in 1 minute increments. So you specified time and generate the ephemeris. Let's go down, and we're looking for 16:24. Okay, 16:24 on the 4th of July. Okay, so there is the distance to the sun on the aphelion. And can we apply the same logic in looking to see if this is exactly aphelion? Well, yeah, we can do that again. You can see all these values are decreasing now as they go down, 29s, 28s, 27s, 30 is the highest, and then they go back down again. So we are picking the exact aphelion distance here. So if I copy that line from the center of the sun in this direction, and we'll paste in the distance, press enter. We now have the aphelion. And if I click on it, and we check down here, 152, 103, 7693. 152, 103, 7693. Okay, so now we can start the ellipse command, which I showed you earlier. And we're going to pick the axis endpoint. We're going to start from this position here, endpoint, and we're going to finish at the aphelion here. So we now have our ellipse, and remember we had to type in R for rotation. which then gives us our appearance of a rotating circle around the main axis. And we type in the eccentricity, which is given to us by NASA, of 0.016711022. There we go. We now have the perfect elliptical orbit, at least for this 6-month period here. So I'm going to go ahead and, now this doesn't always work, I'm going to try and trim away the other half of the circle. It's worked. So I used these lines as cutting points and cut away this half, because we know that this is only applicable to this 6-month period. I'm now going to go ahead and do the same for 2015, and I'm going to join the 2015 aphelion position, which is different to the 2016 position, and I'm going to draw it and join it on to the common distance between 2015 and 2016, which is the perihelion on the 2nd of the 1st. So I've gone back to timeanddate.com to find out when the 2015 aphelion occurred, and you can see here it's at 7:41 p.m. Universal Time on Monday, 6th of July 2015. So let's go back to this page, and I've already put the dates in. I've got the 6th of the 7th to the 7th of the 7th in 1 minute increments. So let's generate the data. And we're looking for 7:41 p.m. so 1941. Here we go. And is it the furthest distance? 73s, 72, 71s, 73, 72, 71. So yeah, this is the furthest distance from the sun. So let's copy that. I'm going to start the line command. Draw a line from the center of the sun. Paste that value in that direction. And if we pick the line now that we've just drawn, it's 15209347573. 15209347573. So yep, it is correct. And if we zoom into here, you can see that this would be the 2016 aphelion and this is the 2015 aphelion. So in 2015 it was shorter. Okay, now we're going to go ahead and draw the elliptical orbit for 2015, the second half of 2015. So if we go to the ellipse command again, axis endpoint, so we're going to start the endpoint here, and the final position will be, zoom right in, endpoint here. So you can see it started to draw the ellipse, and remember we have to type in R for rotation, and as you can see we've got that going on again, and we just need to type in the eccentricity value now, so it's 0.01671022. Okay, so I've been in and tidied it up a bit, given everything colours and layer names. If we zoom into this position, we now have a complete year, bar 2 days, since one of them is the 4th of July and one of them is the 6th of July. But anyhow, so we're starting, this would be the start position in 2015. It would go all the way around, come back, and end here in 2016. So I'm now going to go ahead and draw the Earth. I'm going to go back to the Earth fact sheet on NASA's website, and it tells us here that the mean radius is 6371.008. We've got the polar radius and the equatorial radius here. Obviously this is due to the oblate sphericity of the Earth, supposedly. So For simplicity, and since it's negligible, I'm just going to go for the mean radius, which is 6371.008 kilometers. So let's go ahead and draw it. So I'm going to select the sphere command, start it just there, and I'm going to type in 6371.008 as the radius, and I'm going to put it back to 2D wireframe mode. Just a bit of a quick tutorial on the coordinate system within AutoCAD. This icon here is called the UCS icon. It stands for User Coordinate System, and at the minute it's set to the World Coordinate System. And you can see up here where it says WCS. That means we're looking at a plan view from above. X is in the direction to the right, Y is upwards, and Z would be upwards towards myself. Now I can rotate this view in any way I want, and as you can see, the icon down here is changing with the view, so you can keep track of where you are. So I'm going to put it back. I'm going to reset it to the top view by hitting this here. So it sets it to top, and then I can rotate it back around, so we're looking, so X is this direction, Y is this direction. I want to try and locate London, England, on this planet. So I'm going to select the sphere, and I'm going to hit this triangle, which spins the view so that we're no longer looking from the top, we're looking from the front. Okay, so now we're looking from the front, and you can see this has changed. Z is now upwards this way. I want to change the coordinate system now so that X is in this to the right and Y is upwards, so that I can draw some angles here. So all I need to do is hit a button, and you watch this icon change. There you go. Now X is this way, Y is this way. So now I can draw an angle, a line from the center, just here, and there's a shortcut in AutoCAD where you can type in vectors. So you do that by going at first, because it's from a relative coordinate, i.e. the center. So it's at 6371.008, which is the Earth's radius, and it's at an angle of, which you use this symbol for, it's at an angle of 51.5 degrees, just there. So that puts us smack bang in central London, just here. So I'm going to verify that angle now by drawing a straight line. Oops, start that again. Draw a straight line from the center of the Earth out in this direction, and we're going to take an angle between here and here, 51.5 degrees. So I'm going to delete that line. I'm now going to draw the axis of the Earth. So I'm going to start from the center, pick it, the center, go up in this direction, and I'm going to scale it, the scale command, scale that from the endpoint by 2. That gives us a line that passes directly through the center. Next thing to do is I'm going to add a texture map onto this sphere. So if I can do that as quick as I can. Okay, so we can now scroll around and look at the Earth. So I'm going to reset it to the world coordinate system, so we're looking directly from above. So world coordinate system, and we're going to go to top, so we're looking down on the Earth. As you can see, this point here, the little dot that you can see, that is the London position, but as you can see, it's 180 degrees wrong. So I'm just going to rotate the Earth about the centre point by 180 degrees. And now we can see the dot in London. Okay, I've been in and added a few bits and pieces to the globe for references. I've added the equator around here, and I've added a compass. And this is aligned perfectly to the azimuth from London. So the centre point of the compass was the end point of the line, the 51-degree line that we just drew. I've also added a large arrow head on the end here, so that when we're looking from different views we can see which way is north from London. So just to verify that we've got it at 90 degrees, I'm going to align our UCS to London using the compass. So you can see now the Z-axis is pointing towards the centre of the Earth from London, and we can now change the view to top, and it will put us looking down directly on London. Okay, the next thing to do is to place it onto the elliptical orbit of the Sun and tilt it to the 23.44 degrees. Okay, let's switch back to wireframe mode so we can see what we're doing, and let's move the Earth, the whole lot in fact, and let's move it to the perihelion location, which is just here. So let's see what that looks like. So as you can see, we've got the perfect 51.5 degrees to London, and we've got 90 degrees from the radial distance from London to the centre and to the north direction from London. So there's the 90 degrees there. Now what we need to do is align ourselves, or align the view, so that we're 90 degrees to both the perihelion and the axis of the Earth. So I'm going to opt to do a 3-point UCS from the, let's go for the centre, from the centre of the Earth to the nearest point on this line and to the end point on this line. So it's now put the UCS with the X on the perihelion and the Y on the axis of Earth. So let's change our view to top, and that is showing us it exactly sideways on. Now what we need to do is rotate the Earth by the 23.44 degrees. So let's rotate command, all that lot from the center. So you can see now I can rotate this about the center point, and we're going to rotate it by 23.44 degrees. So let's verify what we've done. I'm going to draw a line again from the center point of the Earth upwards in this direction, which is 90 degrees to the perihelion and the orbital path here. And we're going to take an angle from here to the axis, 23.44 degrees. Okay, the next thing we have to do is align the axis to the Sun, and the nearest time in the year, or the closest time to this perihelion on the 2nd of January, where the axis was perfectly in line with the Sun, was at the December solstice, the winter solstice. So we now need to move this globe to the winter solstice position, and then rotate it such that the axis is then facing the sun. Once we've done that, we have the exact tilt of the Earth. So let's find out from timeanddate.com when the 2015 December solstice occurred. So here's a table of the solstices and equinoxes. So the 2015 one occurred on the 22nd of December at 4:48 AM GMT. So GMT, no need to subtract any hours. 4:48, 22nd of December. I've already put that in, 22nd of December 2015. Let's generate the data. Let's scroll down to 4:48. And there we have it. So that's the distance from the Earth to the Sun on the December solstice. So I've copied that value. I'm going to go back to AutoCAD, take a view from above, and we're going to draw a circle now from the centre of the Sun at the radius that we've just copied from the NASA website. So there we go. It's put a white circle now on top of the elliptical orbit, and we know that 22nd of December would have been 11 days prior to the 2nd of January, so it's going to be somewhere around here. So let's draw a line from the centre of the Earth to the intersection point, which is found automatically just there. And let's just verify the length of that line, which we didn't actually type in. We just drew it freehand from the centre of the Sun to the intersection point. So scroll down to length 147,159,478,21. 147,159,478,21. Okay. So we're there. All's left to do now is to move the Earth to that position. Let's go ahead and do that. Move from the center point to the intersection point there. And all that's left to do now is to rotate the Earth such that the axis, which is in this direction at the minute, aligns with this line, which is pointing directly at the Sun. But before we do, let's have a quick look at what the tilt looks like at present, looking directly behind the globe back towards the Sun. So we have to align our UCS with an object to do this. I'm going to align it with this object here. So it's pretty difficult to see, but the UCS icon now is aligned X along this direction. So if I look now from the rear, you'll see that the axis, which is here, this line, is not looking directly at the Sun. It's not aligned with the Sun. You can see the Sun here, the scale difference. You can see that the axis is not in line. It wants to be perfectly vertical at this position. So let's go to the previous UCS and we'll look from above. From the top, rotate it around. Okay, so we want this axis orientation to be rotated to this axis, to this vector here. So to do that, we rotate from the center point, and we'll use a reference point in this case from the center to the end point here, and we're going to rotate it to the nearest point on this line here. So now, if we align the UCS to this vector here again, and we look from behind, we can see now that the axis is absolutely vertical. So we now have the Earth in its correct position on its orbital path. We have it tilted to 23.44 degrees, and we have it aligned with the Sun at the 2015 winter solstice. What we're going to do now is rotate the Earth about its axis until we find the sun vectors that NASA give us from the website. So azimuths and elevations, and we're going to see if they match up and they actually do work. Okay, so going back to NASA's web interface, we need to change the observer location now from geocentric to a specific location on the Earth, and in our case it's going to be London. So I've already put it in here. We've got 0 degrees east and 51 degrees 30 minutes north, which translates to 51.5 degrees decimal. So we've kept the time span as 22nd of the 12th to the 23rd of the 12th, 2015. And we're now going to generate the data. So 4:48 in the morning. Just here, we've now got an azimuth and an elevation. And obviously, because it's 4:48 in the morning, we've got a minus elevation figure. So for now, let's concentrate on the azimuth. So we've got 92.0190. So let's go back to AutoCAD, and in order to do this, in order to make it such that the vector from London to the Sun is 92 degrees, I had to do it by trial and error. Since we are rotating the Earth about an axis which is tilted, once the London location moves around the ball, it moves in both the X, Y and Z coordinate system. So it's very difficult to actually pinpoint the exact angle without doing it by trial and error. So I've done it anyway, and the exact angle is minus 107.5737 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and align my UCS such that I can rotate this around about the Z-axis. So I can type in UCS ZA for Z-axis. It's asking me for the new origin point, so I'm going to say the bottom of the axis here, and then it's asking me for the point positive on the Z portion of the axis. So I'll pick a point just here, and as you can see, it's now put the Z axis or the Z UCS direction in line with the Earth's axis. So I can now rotate the Earth about that point. So let's give that a go. Rotate from the center. As you can see, it's allowing me to rotate now about the Z axis or the Earth's axis. So I'll type in that figure of minus 107.5737, and there we go. So we've now got to verify that what we've just done is correct. So let's take a line from the center of the Sun and draw it to London, just there. Now, in order to measure the angle, we've got to align ourselves exactly with London. So we are looking at a bird's eye view down on the observer in London. So I can use this command, the UCS, pick a point from there. That's the X, that's the Y. All I need to do now is align the view to look from the top. And if you remember, we were looking for 92.0190 degrees. So let's put an angular dimension on from here to here, 92.0190. Now let's measure or look at the properties of this line here, the sun vector, from London to the sun. So if we scroll down to length, so we've got 14716256035. Let's go back. 14716225649. Now that is extremely close. I believe it's about 3 kilometers, just over 3 kilometers. So that kind of verifies that we've drawn the eccentricity of the elliptical orbit correct, since it has got that line. So or put it this way, it's 3 kilometers out in 147 million kilometers. So that's pretty accurate. But I'm afraid that's where the accuracy ends, because the elevations are way out. So let's show you that. We've first got to, since when you're measuring an elevation and azimuth, the azimuth is obviously measured from north, so you're standing looking north and you turn yourself east, and in this case it's 92 point whatever it was, and then once you're facing in that direction, in the 92-degree direction, you look either up or down to where the sun is in the sky. In this case it'd be down, and you wouldn't really see it because it'd be below the horizon, but so what we've got to do is change our UCS so that we are no longer in line with the compass, which we are currently. The X and the Y is in line with this red compass line. We've got to align it to the sun vector line. So let's do that. We're going to type in UCS, and we're going to rotate it about the Z axis, and we're going to pick a point on this line here. So now it has rotated the X and the Y such that we're no longer on the red line on the compass, we are rotated to the sun vector line. So now all we have to do is look from a front view, like so, and we know that the angle that we're measuring, the elevation angle now, is from this horizontal line down to the sun vector line. So let's change the view to, because we've got X and Z at the minute, we need X and Y, so let's change it to the current view. So we've got X and Y, and we'll take a dimension from this line to this line, and we have 28.9334 degrees. So let's go back and compare that, and we've got minus 28.2794. So we are, I did a quick calculation earlier, 0.654 of a degree out, which again, that's pretty close. However, 0.654 of a degree over 147 million kilometers is significant, and I'll show you how significant now. So what we're going to do is rotate this sun vector line to the angle that NASA is telling us the elevation should be, which is 28.2794. So we're going to rotate this sun vector line, and this will automatically update once we've done it. So we're going to rotate it about London, just here, and as you can see we've got the rotate command going, and we're going to put that angle in that we calculated, 0.654. So 0.654, and as you can see it has automatically updated it to 28.2794. 28.2794, and it's obviously minus, and that's the way we're drawing it, downwards, not upwards, obviously. So now we've done that, let's just delete that dimension, and what we're going to do is move. You can see how far it's moved, and obviously the sun is a lot bigger than the Earth, so we're going to move the line back from the endpoint to the center point of the sun and just look. Now, where are we? Here. So here's the Earth, and here's where it's put the sun vector at only 0.6, whatever it was, 654 of a degree out. See if it'll let us pan around a bit and look how different it is. Here we go. You can see it's way below now. We'll zoom right into the Earth. So there's the Earth, and here's the sun vector. So I mentioned earlier that I was going to check the refraction included model and the non-refraction included model. So this one was refracted. So I'm going to go ahead and check the non-refracted version as well. So let's go here, and we have to go down to this part: refraction model, standard atmosphere refraction model, airless model, no refraction. So let's use them settings and generate the new data. Let's go down to 448, just there, and you can see the azimuth has not changed. However, the elevation has. It's now 28.9260, which is actually pretty close to the actual measured angle here that I got of 28.9334. So I did a quick calculation to see what the difference was, and it's 0.0074. So I'm going to go ahead now and rotate this line from London, and it's 0.0074. And as you can see, it's automatically updated it to 28.9260, which matches the NASA data, 28.9260. So we're going to do the same thing again, and we're going to move, because it should have moved from the center of the sun, which it has done there, look. So I'm going to move it back to the center of the sun, to the center there. So it's back to the center, and we'll see if we can see what effect it's had. So as you can see now, it's actually below, but not as far as it was in the refraction model. It's what, 2 Earth diameters, maybe 2 Earth diameters, 1.5 maybe. And at this point, I would be expecting pinpoint accuracy. Everything else has been accurate, so why shouldn't the elevation angle be accurate? I mean, it is close. As we've seen, it's within a couple of decimal places of a degree. And to be clear, there's nothing I can do to reconcile this difference in angle. I cannot get, no matter what I do, no matter what I do to the Earth, I cannot get the elevation angle to be correct while still maintaining the 23.44 degree tilt and the azimuth to the sun. It just can't be done. So anyway, let's move on to something different. Let's look at some lighting of the Earth. We can add lights into AutoCAD, and so I'm going to switch it back to the 3D realistic view. Let's get rid of some of these vector lines. So we know we're in the right orientation now, and we know where north is, and I'm going to place a light at the center where the sun is. So let's go to visualize. I'm going to create a light. Now I've been through all these different lights, and the one that does it best is the one called distant light. So I'm going to allow distant lights, And it's asking me where I want to put it, and I'm going to put it, obviously, at the centre of the sun. Now it's asking me specify light direction 2. So I want it to be going in this direction. Sorry, over to here. And I'm going to take it to the centre of the Earth. Okay, now it's asking me for intensity factor of the light, and I'm going to put 100 in there for now. I'm going to turn the sun off, and as you can see now, it's very overexposed, but you can see the terminator line there. So I'm just going to go ahead and pick the light. It seems to, when I pick the light, it seems to, sorry, when I pick the Earth, it seems to get rid of the overexposure, but then when I zoom in and out, it comes back again. So I might have to keep doing a bit of refreshing to get it to not be so overexposed. You can see it's really overexposed there. But we can see the exact terminator lines. So let's go to timeanddate.com now on their day and light map and just check, sort of a sanity check as to where the terminator line is on the winter solstice. So here's the day and night map for the winter solstice in 2015 at 4:48 UTC time. Let's just take a quick note of what's in darkness and what's in light. So the entire of America is in darkness, half of Africa, all of Europe, most of northern Russia, and in the light is most of Asia, half of Africa, all of Australasia, and all of Antarctica. So let's go back to the model. So I didn't quite have the light set in the right place before because I wasn't on the world coordinate system when I placed the light, and it placed it at slightly the wrong angle. So I've been in and I've put the light back now according to a world coordinate system. So it now shows I've drawn the line from the center of the Earth to the sun, so that's the direction. So as you can see, it's sitting perpendicular to this line. So just for reference, here's London, and it's 4:48 in the morning. So in a couple of hours, it's going to rotate this way and it's going to come into the light. So let's have a look what's actually in the darkness on this model. So we've got all of America, half of Africa, all of northern Russia, and in the light we have so we have all of Australasia, all of Asia, half of Africa, and Antarctica in its entirety. So we now have a good day and night model in AutoCAD as well. So various tests can be carried out using this. So if you remember, I said I was going to try and use this to find solar eclipse events and to verify if the sun, the moon and the earth all line up. So I've chosen the 8th of March 2016 to the 9th of March 2016 when there was a total solar eclipse, and it says the eclipse started at 19 minutes past 11 UTC on March the 8th, and it was at its maximum point at 1:59 in the morning UTC on March the 9th 2016. If we scroll down, there's a little animation here. I'm just going to start it, and we've got the time counting up here. We're going to try and pause it on 1:59 or close. Oops, went a little bit over there, 5 seconds over. But you can see it's going to be somewhere in the Pacific Ocean where the red dot is here, that's going to be the maximum point. So if I draw, or once I've got the Earth into the right location, I can draw a line from the Sun to the Earth, and it should pass through the Earth at a point similar to this. So let's go ahead and get the distance. So we've got geocentric, because we're looking from centre to centre, and we've got the 9th of March to the 10th of March. I'm going to generate the data. So 159, just here. Let's copy that value. And we're looking at a bird's eye view again, a top view. So here's the perihelion, here's the aphelion, here's the winter solstice. So we're going to draw a circle now from the centre of the Sun. And we're going to paste in the value we've just taken from the NASA website. Paste. So you can see it's drawn like an orange circle now on top of the yellow ellipse. And somewhere around here, on March the 9th, there should be an intersection point. So if I draw a line from the centre of the Sun again, centre, and hover around here, there we go, it's found an intersection point just there. Let's check the distance of the line. 148,541,63382. 148,541,63382. So we're spot on again. I'm now going to delete that circle that we drew. I'm going to go and copy this Earth that we were positioning earlier, because we know that one's right at the solstice. So we're going to copy it from the centre. I'm going to move it to the end point of the line here. Now what we have to do is rotate, or we have to go back to the NASA site and find out at 1:59 where the Sun was in London, and then rotate this again using laborious trial and error to rotate it to the right direction. So I've gone and put the London longitude and latitude back in here. We're on the 9th of March again, and this is the non-refracted version. So let's generate the data. And I'm going to scroll to 1:59. And the azimuth is 35.0904. So we're going to go and, well, I've already done the process of rotating the Earth round now to that angle that we just read. So if you remember, the orange line here is from the centre of the Earth to the centre of the Sun. So now I'm going to go and draw a line from the centre of the Sun, just there, back to London, which is just here. So let's orientate ourselves from the top again, and we'll take an angle from here, that line to here, 35.0904. So we now have the exact azimuth to the Sun from London during the exact time of the eclipse. So let's go ahead and rotate our view so that we are facing the Sun. So I'm going to rotate the UCS about the Z-axis, and I'm going to pick a point nearest on this line. So X is now in the direction of the Sun. So now we're going to go and take a view from the front. So remember, this is north from London, and we're going to take an angle from here to here, and we see that it is 38.1518 degrees. So again, the elevation does not work out. Go back and check NASA. it's minus 37.7508. So let's just go ahead and check the refracted version. So I'm going to change down here to standard atmosphere refraction model and generate the data. Down to 159 again. And you can see it's 37.1042. So again, none of them, both refracted and non-refracted, match the elevation that it actually is geometrically, given all the data that we're given. So let's go ahead and put the moon in from London. So one thing I forgot to do is measure or take the distance from London to the sun, and to check it against the NASA data. So quickly, let's select the line we've just drawn, and the length is 1485.455.6939, and the NASA data is 1485.455.4407. So that's about 25 kilometers out. So I'm not quite sure what's happened between the solstice and the eclipse here, but it seems to have sort of gone off course by 22 kilometers. Now I know there's said to be a slight wobble on the axis, but as far as I know, it shouldn't happen that quickly over 3 months. Anyway, let's get on to drawing the moon. So I've drawn the moon in here. If I click on it, we've got a radius of 1,737 kilometers. So let's go and find out where we've got to put this moon. So I've changed it to the moon, and we've got the London latitude and longitude again, the 9th of March, and this is the non-refraction model. So let's generate the data and go to 159, and here's the distance which we're going to copy, and let's just take note of the azimuth here, 35.0446. So I'm going to enter it directly as vector input again, and if you remember earlier, I told you that AutoCAD draws lines, or measures angles should I say, starting from left and going right. So that would be 0 degrees, so this would be positive up to 45 degrees ish for that line, and 90 degrees for this line. So we've got 90 degrees between here. What we're looking for is measuring from north this way round to get the azimuth. So I'm going to have to subtract the value from that we got from NASA from 90, which I've already done. So let's go ahead and draw a line from London, and I'm going to enter this directly then. So I'm going to say at, and we're going to paste the value in of the distance. So at a distance of that, at an angle of, and I've done it on the calculator earlier, so I'm going to copy this value now, copy, paste that in. Okay, if we look now, it has put a line virtually directly on top of the other line here, but not quite. It's not quite intersecting, but we haven't changed the elevation yet. So before we do that, let's just verify the angle of the line that we've just put in. So if we throw a dimension between north and the grey line, 35.0446. So we're spot on with that. Delete it. Now we're going to go and rotate the line according to the elevation. So to do that, I'm going to have to change the UCS so that X is in the direction of this vector here. So I'm going to rotate the UCS about the Z axis to the nearest point and zoom in, make sure we get the right line, the moon vector line there. Okay, then we're going to switch the view to the front so that we can get the elevation angle entered in. So we've got north in this direction here from London, Remember, we need to change the UCS now so that we've got X and Y so we can rotate it properly. So there we go. And now I'm going to rotate this line here from London just here, and it needs to go at an angle of minus 38.2787. So we'll paste that in, and there we go. And as you can see, they don't actually join. So what should be happening is this is the direct path of the sun, or the direct line from the sun to the center of the earth. So at this point where it intersects here, that would be the maximum point of the eclipse. So at this particular instant in time, this should be in line with this. So what we're going to do is put the moon, we're going to move it from its center to the end point of this line, and whilst we're in this view, we will just verify the angle that we've just put in here. And so go from here to here, and it's 38.2787. 38.2787. Okay, so now we're going to put a camera from this intersection point on the Earth, looking back towards the sun and the moon, and we're going to see what it looks like from a vantage point on Earth. For completeness, let's just look at the refracted version. So I'm going to go to the table settings, and we're going to look at the refraction version. So it's put it in there now. Look, let's generate the data. 159. So it's changed it's kept the azimuth the same, but the elevation is changed to minus 37.6321. So we don't need to actually do this. We can see visually what's going to happen. If this is 38.2787, then 37 point whatever it was is going to bring this line up, and that'll bring it even further away. Okay, I've frozen all the data that we don't need out, so it makes it clearer for the camera. I've already placed a node point where the sun vector here intersects with the surface of the Earth, and that's where I'm going to place the camera. So let's go ahead and do that. So that's just there, and we're going to put it's now asking us where we want to point this camera. So I'm going to select the center of the moon, just there, and we're going to change its roll, the camera roll down here, the roll angle, to align with the axis of the Earth. So it's actually minus 23.44 from this direction. So if we take a look at that, we can see that it is aligned with the axis of the Earth. And we're now going to change the field of view that the camera is looking from to bring it in a bit closer. So we can change this field of view in real time, and if you watch the sort of camera eyepiece, you can see it's bringing the sun and the moon closer together. There we go. And as you can see, according to the geometry, on the 9th of March 2016 at 1:59 AM, there was no eclipse, according to this geometry. So let's delete the camera for a second, and we're going to turn it back to 3D realistic mode. Here's the point, according to the geometry, where the eclipse should have occurred. So it's this landmass here below the equator. And if we go back to time and date, the maximum point here, which occurred Well, it's actually 1 minute past 2 in the morning, so it's 3 minutes, 2 minutes difference. But you'll note that it is sort of level with this landmass here. Take it across, level with the bottom of this landmass, which is actually just here. So if we take it level, this intersection point here should be up here somewhere, according to timeanddate.com. Okay, before we finish, I just wanted to show a couple of other interesting things that we can do with this model. So you're looking now from behind the Earth, looking back at the Sun, and so the orange in the background is the Sun. So if I zoom out, you can see the relative position of the Earth there to the Sun. Likewise, somewhere over here we've got the Moon. Now I've moved the Moon to this sort of arbitrary position over here, just as an example, just to show that what other things that we can do. I've also placed a camera, another camera. I'll switch it back on, zoom out a bit. You can see it there. It's in the same position as we placed the camera before, except it's now looking at the Moon in a different location. So instead of trying to see it being eclipsed, we want to look at it over to the left. So if I select the camera now, what we can also do is see the crescent moon and which direction, which part of the moon is illuminated, because on several occasions when I've looked at the moon when the sun is setting, the angle does not appear to be correct as to which side of, or to what part of the moon is illuminating. So for example, if I was to go out and see this moon in sort of this phase, the sun would be sort of down here, coming up at this direction, where logic would tell me that the sun should be up in this direction coming down, so it's sort of perpendicular to the terminator line here, sort of like this. So I'm going to be on the lookout for the next time I see that the moon is behaving like this. I'm going to take the current time down, video it, and then model it out in here, and to see if I can see if it does actually appear to illuminate like I see. So there we have it, folks. I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope it wasn't too boring. There's a lot of number crunching in there, and of course I could be wrong on some of the bits that I've done. I'm pretty sure it's correct, but if you spotted anything I did wrong, if you could send a link to some data, or if there's any additional information that I didn't factor in the modelling that's mainstream recognised, and you can point me to a link, I'll certainly update it. But I would challenge anybody to draw this out and show us the eclipses working. I'd like to do a lunar eclipse in the near future as well, and if anybody's got any suggestions of other things they'd like me to look at, then I would ask if you would send me an email, please. I'm not going to trail through all the comments on this video. It takes away valuable energy. I'd rather be doing modelling than reading negative comments. So if you've got something to tell me about it, or you want me to factor something in that I've missed, or you've got other ideas of things you want me to try and model, then please send me an email, and the email address is neomagic@sky.com. Thanks for watching.